Yeah, let's move past this part, okay? I understand, even for that part, I probably triggered probably 10% of my audience, and sure, I'll lose followers. But yeah, what did Dr. Jordan Peterson say, right? Okay, I already posted a video on Dr. Jordan Peterson. He should have never joined the Daily Wire, but his most viral interview, not the one with Kathy Newman, but well, I can talk about the Kathy Newman interview as well, but also, I'm talking about the one with Helen Lewis, which has over 70 million views, right? So Helen Lewis, at the end of the interview, asked Dr. Jordan Peterson, how would you like to be remembered? And there was like a 5-second pause, and he said, as someone honest, okay? At the end of the day, I want to be remembered as someone honest. I'm not going to be a grifter or telling these people these BS propaganda lies. And yeah, talking about the Kathy Newman interview, remember Dr. Jordan Peterson's answer to Kathy Newman, right? Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. Yeah, one of his greatest quotes. So, and please, for the love of God, if you're still following Ben Shapiro, time to move away from Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, man. That guy is mad sketchy, man. Someone should look up his background. So maybe the fly from that other room that was sent by Ben Shapiro. Moving past this, okay? For the next bit of this video, I want to talk about Black culture, Indian culture, and also Asian culture. Well, Asian culture, I talked about it so much. Basically, everything that has gone wrong with these modern Asian youths is because, yeah, they worship white people so much. Yeah, it's just an interesting stat. So, which city in the world right now do you think has the most coffee shops? Do you guys think it's London, Paris, New York, Los Angeles? No, Shanghai, China. Yes, in Shanghai, China, okay? Just if you're someone who's Canadian, everyone has been to Tim Hortons, right? Every single Canadian has been to Tim Hortons at some point, although now it's more like Sing Hortons. So there are over 4,000 Tim Hortonses in Canada. Worldwide, there's about 5,000. In Shanghai, in one city alone, there are over 5,000 coffee shops. Okay, once again, it's just because they try to copy white people. They think, oh, because white people, they drink coffee, is so cool, so they all start drinking it. You're Asian, stop humiliating yourself. You're supposed to drink tea, man. What the hell are you doing? Not the British people who drink the milk tea with the cream. You're supposed to drink straight tea, right? During the summer, you drink the green tea. During the winter, you drink the red tea. Stop copying white people. It's just like all these young Chinese people who stopped having children. They get married and they adopt a dog and they say they're a dog or cat parent, okay? This is insanity. This is why everything is getting worse for China, for Japan, for South Korea. It's because they keep copying everything that white people are doing. If you're black or Indian, you're not going to like this. But okay, once again, okay. So I see all this stuff happening on the news, right? Especially in America, they say, oh, this black crime, poverty in Black America, gang violence and stuff. Oh, we have so many problems in the hood. And honestly, I have not seen that many cities in Canada. I have not been to the East Coast. The easternmost city I've been to is Quebec City. I've been to like Montreal, Quebec City, been to Sherbrooke once. Yeah, but I have seen way more in the United States than I have seen in Canada. I didn't live in any of those cities. I just thought, since I have a car, time for me to visit, especially what they're talking about. Is it true that there's so much, gang activity, black on black crime in these so-called hoods? And I visited a bunch of these cities. I've been to Chicago 3 times. And yes, of course, I've been to the hood. It's way worse than anything I could have imagined. I'm sorry to say, man. And I try to keep telling myself, I said, okay, there's a crime scene. Please, I'm praying. Okay, don't let the suspects be black. 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 Because when everybody sees that, they're going to be so racist. Please, for the love of God. Then every time I see it in person, it's a black guy. Okay, I was in Memphis, Tennessee, because I visited that memorial, that stop sign. Okay, Tyre Nichols, at the time he was 29. If you guys have seen that video of Tyre Nichols being beaten to death by 5 black police officers, all black men, okay, they hunted him down at that stop sign. I was there where they held a vigil for him, and he was beaten to death in one of the worst acts of police brutality possible. Once again, that's a black on black crime. While I was there, I was on my way to Elvis's house. I was driving by. I stopped by a grocery store, black-owned grocery store, and right across the street, there was a shooting at a Little Caesars Pizza. And I prayed myself. I said, oh, please don't let the suspects be black. Yeah, 4 young black men walks into a Little Caesars, pulls out a gun, starts shooting. And if you're wondering, yeah, the majority of the residents in Memphis, Tennessee, are also black. So, yeah, all these politicians, especially the black politicians on Capitol Hill, they keep saying that, oh, these white devils, oh, who live in the suburbs, oh, they don't care about the inner cities. I mean, they don't care about the inner cities either. They all live in the suburbs where there are no black people. Go to Baltimore, okay? In normal traffic, okay, from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore probably takes 54 to 55 minutes. Look at the state of decay. I mean, it looks like Iraq or Syria or Afghanistan. It looks like a third world country. I could have never ever imagined that was an American city. The amount of extreme poverty, the amount of crime, the amount of drugs, the amount of trash, the spray painting, the constant police presence. And you guess it, right? Drive around the city of Baltimore, the vast majority of the residents are black. And of course, I already said, I've been to south side of Chicago 3 times. It's bad, terrible. And I've been to Detroit. I've been to Flint. Terrible, man. And the other inner cities, Cleveland, Milwaukee, inner city neighborhoods, they're basically third world countries. And you guessed it. And I said every time, I go to these neighborhoods, I said, please, let there be some white people, let there be some Asians, but almost every single person in this area are black. And if you go to some of the nicest neighborhoods in America, I've seen a lot of those as well. There are virtually no black people. And of course, when people see that, it's going to make you very, very racist. And it's one of those things, right? Almost everybody knows, but nobody is allowed to question it. Oh, if you say anything, oh, you're the racist. Yeah, they just don't want you to be asking these questions. And if you guys have been following me for a while, I said this is why it's so important to have the nuclear family. This is what happens when your family is 100% destroyed. She used to suck dick for a living. That's why everybody in my family is also messed up. Yeah, I also have a cousin who's a career criminal. He has a machete. In fact, he almost stabbed my sister's third husband to death. And in fact, my sister's third husband, he was also a career criminal. He's a registered sex offender. I don't know what the hell is wrong with my family, man. At this point, I've given up all hope. My sister, she forced her second husband into committing suicide. He jumped off from the rooftop of a building. His brain was scattered all over the concrete. We're talking about like JFK style. Then my sister, for her third marriage, she decides to marry a registered sex offender. Yeah, he was in jail for also stabbing people. He also owns a machete. 43-minute video back in April where I talked about, actually my paternal grandfather from my dad's side, yeah, he was also a registered sex offender. He raped over 100 women. That's why I have terrible genes in my family. And I'll come back to this point at the end of the video for the young man who are saying that, should I get married and have children? Well, I think for everybody's situation is different. And my dad, he also raped multiple women. They all got away with it because in the town I was born and raised in, my paternal grandfather, he was the first police chief of that subdivision. So of course he could do anything he wanted. So he was a registered sex offender, but what are you going to do? Who's going to arrest him? He's the police chief. So yeah, that's what I'm dealing with my family. And this is what happens when you don't have family. And I said this is so important, right? If you do not want to have children, do not get married. And if you do get married, you must have children. But I'm sorry to say, look at the state of America. 72% of black children are being born out of wedlock. And also, right, a lot of people say, oh, but there's missing father crisis. Where are these black men? And a lot of black men have commented on my previous videos because I triggered a lot of them as well. They said, well, actually, all of the black women for this baby mama crisis, this is all caused by a very small percentage of black men, maybe between 10 to 20%. Because you mentioned it before with the extreme hypergamy, these queens, right? And they only want the 6 feet, 6 figures, 6 packs, 6 inches. Where if you're black, they may ask for 8 inches. So, I agree, okay? There are way more black mothers out there versus black fathers because they're all getting impregnated by a very small percentage of men. It's like like I said, with the white incel thing, right? Okay, maybe there's some advantages if you're into JBW, but what happens when you allow female sexual liberation? All of these white women, they're only sleeping around with like 10% of white men. So most of white men, they end up becoming incels. This is why, right, throughout human history, female sexual promiscuity has never, ever been allowed by any civilization. And look at what happened since the 1960s. Planned Parenthood, Innovid, birth control, Margaret Sanger, Catherine D. McCormick. Everything has gone to shit. This is why you cannot allow female sexual promiscuity. There would be no baby mama crisis if it wasn't for female sexual promiscuity, right? There would not be a crisis of all of these absent fathers in these black homes in America. And also, I do agree with China's law. You cannot allow people to have children out of marriage, right? So yeah, if you have kids out of marriage, then that kid is a bastard. That's why it's outlawed in China. That's why in China there's so many abortions. I understand not everything is perfect, but I mean, if you got your girl pregnant and if you do not plan on getting married, then honestly, I don't think that kid should be born, okay? I understand that it's very controversial when it comes to these things. When it comes to abortion, it's always controversial. But yeah, let's face it, this is a huge problem. 64% of black children in America are being raised without a father. And yeah, if you bring these things up, it's just like, oh, white people, every time you bring up the topic about white culture, they say, oh, it's because of Zionism. I'll cut with the crap, right? Anytime you bring up stuff about black culture, they say, oh, it's actually white people. I mean, no, it's black men who are impregnating these black women. Sure, a lot of black men are incels, but yeah, you need to have a serious discussion about female sexual promiscuity if you want to stop this crisis. Yeah, nothing good has come out of this movement. That's why throughout human history it has never ever been allowed. And also, I understand Dr. Umar, he's quite controversial, but he says some things I believe are correct. So 75% of black women will never get married. Once again, right, look at China, why is it in a decline? Marriage rates and birth rates are plummeting like this. In 2013 in China, there was 13.5 million marriages. In 2024, there was less than 6 million. So the marriage rate has plummeted by over 60%. And once again, in China, unless you get married, you cannot have a child. So birth rates has also plummeted by over 60%. Yeah, a massive population collapse is coming. So 75% of black women will never get married. The 25% that do, half will be divorced. How can you have the nuclear black family when this is happening? And when I bring up the snow bunny thing, right, they say, oh, stop being a grifter to like white people, stop being racist. Okay, it's nothing controversial. So if you go on black demographics, it shows that 15% of black men are currently in an interracial marriage. Only 7% of those cases they're married to white women. Okay, I understand. It's not a huge percentage. The vast majority of black men are still marrying black women. I'm talking about, however, the top 1 to 2% of black men, the black man with generational wealth. Look at what they're doing, man. Look at Lamine Yamal. For his 18th birthday, he rents a boat in Ibiza, Spain, and he has an orgy with 8 white women. Now, I'm pretty sure he's got STD. Either he's got STD, possibly chlamydia, or maybe he broke his 3rd leg. That's why he's been out and injured so long this season. Yeah, look at what these black professional athletes, generational wealth, are doing. What good has happened from these black athletes giving their money away to white women? Absolutely nothing. That's what happened to Scottie Pippen. I believe he has a bunch of like illegitimate, like mixed race, light-skinned child, all with white women. He actually went bankrupt because of child support. He had to come back to the Chicago Bulls and they give him some BS job, pay him a few $1 million a year so he has money to pay child support to these white women. Once again, marriages and relationships are a financial transaction from the man to the woman. Okay, it's a little bit different if a black woman marries a white man. At least for Candace Owens, she secured the bag. She got a super rich white man, has about the same net worth as Dwayne Wade. Even if she gets divorced, she'll probably secure something like at least $50 million. So she's set for life. But look at someone like Thierry Henry, I guess. So Titi, right? The French football player. His ex-wife, right? The British one, Nicole. After he moved to Barcelona from Arsenal and to become teammates with Messi, that's when he was being coached by Pep Guardiola. That's when he won the treble with Barcelona, one of the best footballers in the world in his prime, right? After he moved to Barcelona, his wife, Nicole, the white girl, the snow bunny, files for divorce for no reason. And she got the custody of their daughter. That's when TT's career started to go downhill because he was extremely depressed and he was suffering from anxiety attacks because he was not allowed to see his daughter. And by the way, it's not like, he was a scumbag and cheating on his wife, right? So his wife filed for divorce for no reason. It was a no-fault divorce. And she secured, I believe back in 2007, something like 10 million British pounds back in 2007. So yeah, and look at Shannon Sharp. I mean, look at the white woman he's been sleeping around with. I mean, those are some really, really ugly, roughed up snow bunnies, right? Shannon Sharpe's career is over because of a snow bunny. And look at someone like Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors was supposed to be, the next big thing in Marvel. He was supposed to be, the next big, great villain, right? He was supposed to be like the next Thanos. So Jonathan Majors, he could have made probably 200 million, 300 millions, maybe even $1 billion with Marvel, if he did not get involved with a snow bunny. And then you guys all saw what happened there, right? With the rape and sexual assault allegation. He completely threw his career away. Generational wealth. All for absolutely nothing. And it's very interesting that the people, like the black men who are complaining, says, oh, black America's poor, we don't have generational wealth. Look at these so-called black activists who are talking about this crisis. Look at Donald Glover. He's with a white girl. Look at these rich black men on TV. Craig Melvin. He's with a white girl. Look at Van Jones from CNN. Absolutely disgusting. He makes everything racial. He always talks about, oh, anti-black racism. White devil, so racist, so racist. I mean, Van Jones would have never gotten his job at CNN. He would have never gotten into Yale if he wasn't a black man. He's a DEI hire. It's a definition. Look at his wife, Snow Bunny. His kid's light-skinned. Look at someone like Lester Holt from NBC News. Once again, look at his wife, Carol Hagan, Snow Bunny. Yeah, I think the black community needs to come together and have a very, very serious discussion about this. And stop cherry picking. You say that, oh, what about Denzel Washington? He married like a dark-skinned black woman. What about, Samuel Jackson, who's married to a dark-skinned black woman? I mean, I'm not saying all black men are doing this, but it's a huge percentage of a successful top 1% black man with generational wealth. They're throwing away hundreds and millions of dollars away to these white women. And yet, what good has ever come out of this snow bunny crisis? Absolutely nothing. Certainly not for the black community, because at the end of the day, it's white people who are benefiting. It's the white families who are getting this money. Look at Bronny James, right? LeBron James' son. Is he still dating that blonde girl, Peyton? Maybe they're still together. So what do you guys think is going to happen if Bronny gets married to Peyton, to this white girl, and if she files for divorce 2 years later saying she's not happy? I mean, she's probably going to secure generational wealth, at least $100 million from their divorce. Once again, it's a transfer of wealth from rich, successful black men to white women who are basically average, mid, nothing. You're throwing all of your money away. And yeah, you need to have a very, very serious discussion about this. Why are so many black men with generational wealth doing this? And also, yeah, I will just moving past the snow bunnies. Recently, you guys have all seen it. In Canada, in America, in UK, in Australia, and New Zealand, there has been an explosion of Indian men moving into these countries. So, once again, I've never ever had a problem with the Indian population. Not until when I went back to school, more specifically when I went back to college. It's like, back before Justin Trudeau, there was strict requirements. There were these immigrants they have to meet. They have to actually be a skilled worker to be qualified in order to come to Canada. You have to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or someone working at Google or IBM. And Justin Trudeau, he literally took the absolute worst Indians possible and he's imported millions of them into Canada, okay? So, yeah. Personally, up until the summer of 2018, I've never had issues with Indians. Okay, once again, I want to be 100% honest. I went to Georgian College, okay? 2018 to 2020, 2-year program. I was actually studying heating, refrigeration, and air conditioning. 4 semesters. I was only on campus for a year and 4 months. So, yeah, it's very interesting. When Justin Trudeau took power in 2015, in Canada, there was 200,000 international students, 100,000 in Canadian colleges, and 100,000 in Canadian universities. So that was 2015. In 2023, Canada reached 1 million international students, and all of them are coming from one country. Yes, one country, India. Yeah, you guys guessed it. Well, I already said I'm covering Indians. So a lot of these Indian guys, they don't even speak English. Okay, they're coming to Canada just to work at Tim Hortons or KFC or Burger King or Dairy Queens for 2 years just to get their green card. Okay, this scam, well, Justin Trudeau was part of it. The reason why Justin Trudeau has been part of it all along is because he wants to form a coalition government with Jagmeet Singh so that he can stay in power even as a minority government. And that's why Jagmeet Singh, well, you guys already know, that's probably the most famous last name in India. So he's the one who's pushing for all of these Indians. So he partnered with Justin Trudeau. There's a program. It's based in Kitchener, Ontario. Okay, it's founded by 3 Muslim brothers. Well. So Basiri brothers, interestingly enough, they all came to Canada as an international student as well. All of these young men who are coming to Canada, it's like, oh yeah, I came to Canada as an international student. So they found a program called the Apply Board. Justin Trudeau was actually there at the cutting the ribbon for their opening ceremony. He shook hands with all three Basiri brothers. He's like, yes, welcome Apply Board. We're going to take in millions and millions and millions of international students from all over the world. When they say all over the world, it's all from India, okay? And this whole thing with the mass influx of international students all started at Conestoga College. Absolutely despicable behavior from Apply Board and from Conestoga College. That school needs to be shut down permanently, okay? It needs to be investigated for treason. Yeah, because immediately starting in 2016, Conestoga College, 2015 was like an 80% white school. In 2016, 2017, 2018, it became an 80% Indian school. Yeah, the whole school was part of this Ponzi scheme, whatever you want to call it. First of all, okay, I don't mind immigration. I came to Canada as an immigrant. But here's the thing. Why are we taking the absolute worst Indians possible and why are we bringing them over? Okay, I'll be brutally honest with you guys. When I was at Georgian College, I lived literally 30 seconds away from campus. Okay, behind the school gym, there was a path where I can take. I lived on Burnick Drive. Okay, Burnick was intersected there with Grove. There was a Burnick and Grove, and there was a little plaza there. It's very interesting. There was a Tim Hortons there. There was also a St. Louis Bar and Grill. Everybody at that Tim Hortons there, they were all Indian. They were all students at the Georgian College. They're not there to go to class. They're just there to work at a fast food restaurant. This is an easy way to get a green card. But here's the issue, right? Every single night, okay? I can even tell you guys, to be honest, there was a restaurant there. I went there at least once a week. The guy was Greek. He immigrated to Canada in the 1980s. So the restaurant's name was Phil's Cafe. He said, all these years I've owned Phil's Cafe on Burnick and Grove. I've never had any issue until 2016. Then these Indians came. He told me he absolutely hates Indians now. He wants to get rid of Trudeau and Trudeau needs to be locked up in prison. Yeah, so they're all driving these, Nissan Sentra or the Honda Civic or Toyota Corolla, and they pimped it up. It's got these, crazy wheels and every single night, okay, I lost so much sleep. They will blast music. I'm talking, Taylor Mindy, like da da da, or like yeah. I'm not the one who's making up the stereotypes, and a lot of them, like Jagmeet Singh, they wear the turban. They're Sikhs, so yeah, they call themselves the Turbinator, not the Terminator, the Turbinator. Every single night, the police gets called like 3 times a week, right? Phil's telling me he's lost so much sleep ever since these Indians came. Every single night, like do not do da da da, and just like doing just donuts in the parking lot, like a lot of these programs these Indian students are enrolled in, they're all fake. When I was taking heating, refrigeration, and air conditioning class, I was in the F building. All the buildings on campus, they have letters like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? And beside the F building, there was the A building on the second floor. Let's see if I can still remember the room number. I think it was room 217. That's where they have ESL programs. English as a second language. A lot of these Indians come, they don't even go to class. They just go there to learn some basic English because, yeah, they have zero English. They don't understand anything. And they just, I don't know, they go to some random Indian agent, they pay their tuition, and they start working at Tim Hortons, and 2 years later, they get their green card. So, yeah, and the neighborhood around the school on Grove and on Burnick, vast majority of them are being rented by Indian students. 100% destroyed. It's very normal for a 3-bedroom house to house 15. 15 is probably on the lighter side, usually 20, 25, or even 30 people. Yeah, you guys have all seen those homes in Brampton, in Mississauga, where you see 15 cars being zigzag parked on the grass. It was all like that. I've been inside of those houses. The smell is absolutely horrific. It's 100% destroyed. A lot of those guys don't even shower. And if you guys think I'm making any of this up, go to any college, certainly Ontario, certainly in probably Nova Scotia, in BC. Yeah, go to any Canadian college and look at the houses right next to these college campuses. Most of them are 100% destroyed. It's completely caked in trash. And yeah, as a matter of fact, the house I was staying at, I could see the school's gym right from my back window every single night. Bunch of Indians, yeah, just lining up, taking a piss. Instead of using Yeah, walking 30 seconds to the school gym where there are a bunch of bathrooms and urinals available. They're all taking piss, and they'll be sipping some Tim Hortons, and they just throw their trash there. Yeah, you know the path I'm talking about, that back path from Burnick Drive that leads right to campus. Yeah, just look at the path. It's completely caked in trash. It's everywhere. And there's a bunch of feces and there's a bunch of urine. It was all left there by the Indian international students. Okay, if you're Indian and if you actually work hard, if you want to succeed in Canada, if you do want to stay here, you want to get rid of all the negative stereotypes, then you need to have a very, very serious discussion about what the hell is going on. And also, once again, right, I'm okay with them coming in. Almost all these international students, I would say 80% of them are men. It's not like you're getting like Priyanka Chopra or Manushi Shilar. By the way, Manushi Shilar, I used to jerk off to her. She's like former Miss World, right? There's no Indian baddies coming in. Almost all of them are men. And I covered this in past videos, right? India has a massive excess man crisis, upwards of 70 million excess men. It's like, this is how they're dealing with the excess man crisis. They're sending them all to Canada, to America, to Australia, to New Zealand, to the UK. So yeah, Canada's demographic has been altered forever, right? This age group between 18 to 25 up to 30. Now it's probably like 60% men because almost all of the immigrants are coming in. They're all military-aged men. What do you guys think happens when you take in people from a country, which is, you guys, a lot of you guys might be thinking it's controversial. But I mean, if it is not the rape and sexual assault capital of the world, I mean, it is definitely up there in the top 10. And look at this new batch of, if you guys want to call these immigrants who are coming in, who are 80% men. What are all these Indian men? What do you guys think is going to happen? But I mean, those grooming gangs, yeah, just you wait. They're coming to Canada. In fact, they might already be here. So my main message is, if you're someone who's, it doesn't matter if you're Chinese, it could be Filipino, Vietnamese, Japanese, or if you're Indian, Pakistani, if you're a black person from Caribbean, if you're thinking about moving to a Western country, my number one advice is don't do it. It's especially like these white people, man. A lot of them are so hypocritical. They keep talking about, white women, these hoes. They keep sleeping around with black men. Not a single one of them has ever addressed the fact that, so many of these white men are thirsting after Asian women. It's like, so that's not race mixing, if that's okay with you. And yeah, if you're an Asian guy, I've had this happen so many times. Don't say, there's no racism, there's no xenophobia. They're okay with, a white guy taking an Asian girl. That's never a problem for them. But as soon as they see one Asian guy with a white girl, they will absolutely lose their mind. They will give you the death stare. They will hate you. They will wish death on you. They will use every single slur on you possible. They only want these Asian female immigrants here because they have an insane Asian fetish, but they absolutely hate Asian men. If they see one Asian guy with a white girl, they will absolutely lose their mind. And yeah, if they see one fairly attractive white girl with a black guy, they'll turn into a Klans member. But they never talk about the cases where white men are marrying black women like Candace Owens and George Farmer. I'm just telling you, do not come here. I think, yeah, human beings were never ever meant to live like this. Honestly, look at Black America. I'm not saying that obviously there was a lot of problems under Jim Crow, right? The black men were seen as 3/5 of a man. But look at the black family before the civil rights movement, before black and white started to live together. Look at, remember, the Black Manhattan, right, in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Look at Harlem, once again, before the 1960s, before the civil rights movement. Black America was a lot better off. And you have to remember, way back in the day, right? Only the black father could choose his future son-in-law, and there was no divorces in the black community, right? There was no baby drama crisis. There was no gang violence. There was no black on black crime, and they were all living just fine. But as soon as these black people, but as soon as the Great Migration began, where a lot of these black folks, they're moving into these previously, historically, almost completely white neighborhoods, I think, yeah, everything has gone to shit. I honestly think humans were never, ever meant to live in a ethnically and religiously a melting pot. We weren't meant to live like this. I want to talk a little bit about history. Yeah, if you're a white person, and if you're wondering why you guys got to this point, everything's in decline. The reason why the white population is in a massive decline, especially look at Eastern Europe. Well, okay, I'm sorry to say you have nobody to blame but yourself. Adolf Hitler happened, okay, on one side. Then on the other side, Joseph Stalin happened. Okay, Joseph Stalin is every bit as insane as Adolf Hitler, two peas in a pod. And to the people out there who are like, oh, how Hitler now? Look at someone like Myron Gaines. Like, are you serious, man? Okay, first of all, like Myron Gaines, dude. I mean, like, do you not see your own skin tone? I mean, do you know what Adolf Hitler would actually do to you if you could travel back in time and if you went to Nazi Germany? And I'm not even going to get into Nick Fuentes or Dan Bilzerian. All hypocrites. First of all, like Nick Fuentes, he's not even 100% white. He's a quarter Mexican. Do you consider that to be white? And also, yeah, so he talks about Ben Shapiro a lot, right? Ben Shapiro got married at 25 with 4 kids. Nick Fuentes is officially listed as incel. He's 27. No dating history. If you're talking about the white population collapsing, and if you're so concerned about Zionism, right? If you still identify as a white person, why don't you get married and have kids? So he has 2 talking points. He's like, oh, it's the Jews, or it's the white woman sleeping with black man. So yeah, if you are so upset about a white woman sleeping with black men, why don't you find a silky smooth white woman to marry and procreate with? Or is it because, okay, I'm just saying this, I think a lot of other people are saying, is Nick Fuentes actually gay? Okay, maybe he swings the other way around. Maybe he talks about black men sleeping around with white women so much is because what if he's actually sexually attracted to black men? Okay, maybe he likes Don Lemon. I'm just telling you guys, man. But I'm not going to expand on Nick Fuentes too much. I already talked about him during my last live stream. Complete scumbag. I don't have much to say. But for Candace Owens, it's different. Okay, yeah. Before I get into Hitler and Stalin, I would like to add on one point. Even though I believe that Candace Owens is somewhat of a grifter and a gold digger. I mean, she's set for life. I do agree with one thing where Candace Owens talks about. She said Michael Jackson was set up. Okay. For the longest time, I always thought, despite everything, that Michael Jackson was guilty. But given what has transpired worldwide in the last couple of years, honestly, at this point, okay, I said this during my live stream as well, I do believe sincerely from, 100%, it's coming from my heart right here, Michael Jackson is an innocent man. And he really did try to make the world a better place. And his death was 100% a setup. Because I remember when he announced his comeback tour back in 2009 in March, this is it. He was supposed to go to London, UK at the O2 Arena to perform. And yeah, this is it. That was going to be his farewell tour. He was probably planning on making like $100 million and retire because yeah, he was supposed to release that song in '93, Don't Cry Palestine. It was never allowed to be recorded and released. Then that's when all the allegations came and all the lawsuits completely bankrupted him. And I believe by the time Michael Jackson passed away, he had absolutely nothing because of all the allegations and lawsuits and all the legal fees he had to pay. And he even lost his ranch, Neverland, right? So, and yeah, even just the day before he died, he was still on stage rehearsing, getting ready for his comeback tour, his farewell tour. Then something must have happened, okay, between that night and that morning. Okay, I think there's more to the story. It's a very deep rabbit hole. This is like the JFK rabbit hole. He was 100% set up, and I definitely remember his song, right? All I'm gonna say is that they don't really care about us. So I think, so many years later, I think so many people find that song to be so relatable. Candace Owens, I will agree with you on this one point. I do believe that Nick Fuentes is a scumbag. Candace Owens is absolutely right about this. I believe Michael Jackson's 100% innocent. So let's talk about what happened, right? Okay, Adolf Hitler aside, let's talk about Joseph Stalin. First of all, Churchill was an absolute monster too. I mean, Neville Chamberlain wasn't any better. He thinks that, remember him landing at the airport, holding that piece of paper. It's like, oh, look, I got Hitler to sign this piece of paper. He's not going to invade the staten lands of Czechoslovakia. I saved the world from World War II. Oh, I brought the world peace. Give me the Nobel Peace Prize now. And then Hitler goes on to invade Czechoslovakia. Then, Neville Chamberlain resigns. So, useless too. Churchill was a monster too. But yeah, I mean, Joseph Stalin. So, before he turned into an absolute monster, I do believe that no children are born to this world evil. If you look at what happened to Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin, and please, I mean, Myron Gaines was going like, how Hitler? Okay, his ass will be the first one to go under Nazi Germany. So both Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin, they were viciously beaten by their father as a child. In fact, I talk about my dad, why he turned out to be batshit crazy. Yeah. So yeah, my grandfather, registered sex offender, raging alcoholic, every single night after dinner, takes off his leather belt, beats the shit out of my dad every single night. And some nights my dad would tell me that the beating was so bad, his skin on his back would be completely split open. Yeah, that's what Adolf Hitler went through. And in fact, by the age of 13, things got so bad, his brother actually ran away from home. And at the age of 18, the only person in Adolf Hitler's life that cared about him was his mother. His mother died. When Adolf Hitler's mother died, I believe a piece of him died with him. And that aside, Joseph Stalin went through the exact same thing. He's Georgian, right? Born in Gori, Georgia. His father used to viciously beat him when he was a child. So he's not the only child, but his two other siblings passed away at infancy. His dad was a cobbler. I'm not talking about corn. He was a shoemaker. He used to be quite successful, but unfortunately he lost his business. So to take out his rage, and he would viciously beat Stalin's mother, who was named Ekaterine. Once again, I don't even have any notes. And Joseph Stalin's real name, let's see if I can remember. I believe Joseph Stalin's real name is actually Losip Vissarionovich Zhukashvili. So yeah, Stalin was a Georgian. So yeah, it was reported that at one point the beating got so bad, Joseph Stalin, as a little kid, as a baby, he was urinating pure blood for an entire week. And at the age of 5, he was abandoned by his father. Yeah, remember that. Joseph Stalin, yes, he's an absolute monster. At one point, though, before he turned into a monster, Joseph Stalin, he was an innocent human being as well. He was viciously beaten by his father every single day, and his father, at the age of 5, moved to the capital of Georgia. He moved to Tbilisi, and he was abandoned. So yeah, you wonder why people like Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin turned out like the way they did. But yeah, look up a picture of young Joseph Stalin. I mean, he was just born into the wrong family in the wrong era. I mean, that face card in a non-gay way. But I'm just saying, with that jawline, if Joseph Stalin, like today, in 2025, he was born in America, this guy will be a top 1% giga chat. He will be dominating Hollywood. He'd be up there with like Chris Hemsworth or Matthew McConaughey or Tom Cruise. But unfortunately, he was just born in the wrong time period, into the wrong family. I talk about why population decreasing so much, right? Birth control happened, Margaret Sanger, Catherine McCormick happened, Planned Parenthood happened. Also, you guys have to remember, right? Look at the population of Russia, of Belarus, of Ukraine, Poland, Germany, right? Why are all of them decreasing so fast like this? So you guys understand the bottleneck concept? You have to remember, the Soviet Union lost 26 million people during World War II, right? The people who still want to support Adolf Hitler. Okay, I'm not even counting the Holocaust victims, if you believe that those are not white people, okay? That's debatable. But, the 26 million, think about the encirclement of Kyiv and the people who want to deny the Holocaust, okay? Okay, well, I mean, so if you're saying that what happened after the encirclement of Kyiv did not happen. So that was during the early stages of Operation Barbarossa. The Wehrmacht swept deep into Ukraine, and after Kyiv was completely encircled, the Soviet lost 700,000 men. Once again, 700,000 military-aged white men lost their lives. And after that, so the SS soldiers, they took control of Kyiv, right? But they didn't realize, right, before the Soviet troops, before the Red Army left, they rigged all of these buildings with explosives. And in a serious round of explosions, roughly 200 SS officers, they were killed. And guess what? Of course, Hitler was notified. What did Hitler say? Ooh, Jews! He blamed everything on the Jews. That's what these people, all these white men were like, Jews! I mean, you're thinking it's the exact same thing as Adolf Hitler, where you think he was actually a good person? Are you serious? You're absolutely out of your mind if you want to support someone like Adolf Hitler. So, right after that, the massacre at Babin Yar happened. You can look it up. And if you deny the massacre at Babin Yar, then I'm sorry to say, you are not human, okay? You are so despicable that you can no longer be considered as a human being. On September 29th and September 30th, over 33,000 Jews were rounded up at the ravine at Babin Yar. And man, I cannot even physically describe the events that took place during those 2 days. But one of the worst crimes against humanity, one of the worst massacres that took place in the history of humanity. Yeah, look at the picture of Manea Halef, the innocent little 5-year-old girl. You guys have no idea what those Nazi soldiers did to her. In just 2 days, 33,000 people died because Hitler was like, oh, it's all the Jews' fault. And then, over the course of the next few years, during the Nazi occupation of Kiev, 100,000 Jews were systematically, brutally massacred at the ravine in Babin. And if you deny that, and if you say that the massacre at Babin did not happen, I'm sorry to say, I cannot even consider you as human being anymore. Once again, the death toll was so brutal, also because of the incompetence of Joseph Stalin. He murdered almost every single commander in the Red Army. You guys remember, right? The Battle of Stalingrad. Here's something crazy. You guys all know Victory Day in Europe, right? April 30th. Hitler kills himself. Then the war in Europe is over. So out of all the men in the Soviet Union that was born between 1920 to 1924, 80% of those men died before Victory Day in Europe in May of 1945. 80%. What happens, when you lose 80% of your military-aged men? That means that almost all the women in that age group born between 1920 to 1924, they all became single, leftover women. Nowadays, you can see this everywhere, all over Eastern Europe. In Poland, in Romania, in the Baltic states, in Belarus, in Ukraine, in Russia. These local villages, because all of the remaining men, they tend to move to the big cities like Moscow, like St. Petersburg, like Kiev. But in the countryside, there are so many of these old babushka ladies. They've never been in a relationship. They've never got married. That's why they don't promote this feminism thing, because they're the only ones who are left in these empty, desolate towns doing all of the hard physical labor. Because, all of the men have died. And what happens 20 years later? There's another bottleneck. What happens another 20 years later? Another bottleneck. Remember, right? Poland lost 17% of their population. And even before the war, you have to remember, there was the October Revolution. Russia also had their own civil war. So the Lenin's proletarian revolution, right? The October Revolution. If you guys want to support communism, look up what happened to Tsar Nicholas II. Look up what happened to their family. Man, I'm shocked humanity has not gone extinct at this point. It happened at the House of Special Purpose. One of the worst massacres imaginable to mankind. What happened to the Romanovs. So and there was the civil war between Lenin's Red Army and also, you guys probably don't even know the names. This is why it's so important to learn about history. Russia's one and only supreme leader, nobody knows him, Alexander Kolchak. So that civil war, along with the proletarian revolution, that killed something like 10 million people, right? And Stalin's Soviet Union during World War II lost 20 million people. And also remember, the Holodomor that was orchestrated by Joseph Stalin in Ukraine, the Holodomor killed 10 million people. And after the war ended, the Great Purges, right, Joseph Stalin, so between 45 to 53, it's estimated that Stalin killed at least another 10 million people through the Great Purge. Just add those numbers up, 10 million, 5 million, 26 million. That's why in all of Eastern Europe, right? Because remember, the Soviet Union wasn't just Russia. All of Eastern European countries, the white population are all shrinking because, all the military-aged men have been killed, and there's no way for them to recover. And so you want to blame this on Zionism and all this? It's all because of Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin. They're both batshit crazy. They killed like half of white people in Europe, and their population has not been able to recover ever since then. And if you still think, somehow Stalin is this righteous guy, he's this great leader, look up, in Romania, Joseph Stalin's anti-human projects. Yes, by the way, most of the victims, they were completely innocent civilians. He did this because he was so twisted. It was literally called anti-human projects in Romania. I mean, I'm not going to describe it, but I mean, the level of evil, that guy was an absolute monster, man. And those two people completely decimated the European population. That aside, let's focus on China. A lot of people saying that, you might be wondering, right? So China, at one point, it was extremely poor third world country. So how did China rise up to have, the world's largest GDP? When I say GDP, I mean purchasing power parity. Sure, America has a bigger economy, but you have to remember, a bag of milk and a dozen of eggs, right? In China, it costs like 10 times less versus America. So when it comes to pure purchasing power parity, China is number one in the world. How was China able to achieve this? So a lot of people think Chairman Mao Zedong is controversial, right? You think he's a villain and all this, he's a dictator. Well, actually, I beg to differ. I think Chairman Mao Zedong, he's one of the most brilliant leaders that has ever lived. Okay, he did some questionable stuff towards the end of his career, but in his younger days, I mean, this guy was absolutely incredible. You know, the Chinese Civil War, the Long March. So, okay, all of that stuff aside, I think I can cover that in future videos. But you have to remember, this is why I think things started to derail for Chairman Mao. He did so many great things in his younger days. Then October 1st, 1949, right, Chairman Mao, he stands in front of Tiananmen Square. So Tiananmen actually means the gate of heaven and peace. So then he basically announces that, you know, the founding of the People's Republic of China, he has won the long 22-year civil war. Then what do you guys think is the first thing that has happened right after Chairman Mao Zedong declared, you know, the People's Republic of China? Here's something you guys probably have never heard of. He boards a train along with a small number of delegates. Yeah, and the train was bounded for the Kremlin. He visited Joseph Stalin. He stayed in Moscow for the next 3 months. So basically, his model for China, for the future of China, for their economic growth, everything, how they can recover after their deadly civil war. He learned it all from Joseph Stalin. So that was... I'm trying to wrap my head around that decision. They don't tell you this too much in China. I don't know why he made that decision, but he must have thought Joseph Stalin was a top G. So anyways, so I think that was a huge mistake. But if you look at the early days, right after the founding of the People's Republic of China, he did a lot of great things. So they had this plan, the same thing the Soviet Union had. It was like the 5-year plan. So about the economic model for the next 5 years and how the country can grow. During the first 5 years, China saw massive increase in its industrial output. I believe their steel and aluminum production increased by something like 500%. It was a massive success. But then something changed, okay? 1953, Joseph Stalin dies. Before Joseph Stalin dies, you guys all know, you know, there's the Cuban Missile Crisis that happened in '63. So before he died, Nikita Khrushchev, he made this infamous speech. You can look this up. Once again, I don't even have any notes. It's called "On the Occult of Personality and Its Consequences." So this speech ultimately led to the de-Stalinization of the Soviet Union. So he absolutely tore Joseph Stalin to shreds, and that's when eventually what led to the Sino-Soviet split. Because Mao, he was a big fan of Joseph Stalin. He thought Stalin was the top G. Then Nikita Khrushchev, he comes up with this de-Stalinization where he absolutely shot over Stalin. Then China and Soviet Union, they split apart. Then in 1956, he thought, okay, Khrushchev, he's lost his mind. Maybe I should try something similar. And he said this: let the 100 flowers bloom. In early 1956. So basically, Chairman Mao said that he was willing to hear, the thoughts and opinions on himself from the Chinese peasants. They can write any letters they want to, and he's willing to actually take any criticisms from these Chinese peasants. So millions of these letters flood into Beijing from all over the country, every single part of China. And of course, he has some good reviews. Maybe 50% of it was good, but the other 50%, people viciously attacked him. They said he's a tyrant, he's a terrible leader, we're all starving to death, it's all because of you, you're just terrible, you should step aside and let someone else take over. And obviously Mao, he did not take this too well. And eventually that will lead to the gulags. So all the people who wrote these terrible negative comments about Chairman Mao Zedong, a lot of them they were arrested. In fact, I believe between 1956 to 57, in the early days of the 100 Flower campaign, it is believed that at least 1 million people were arrested, most of them teachers, because at the time the literacy rate in China was extremely low, so most people couldn't read or write. So the only people who actually can write these letters, most of them were teachers. So a lot of teachers got arrested, and then the gulags began. Some of the gulags were not so terrible. Very few people died, but some of them, especially the ones in the Gobi Desert, if you got sent to the Gobi Desert, it's guaranteed death. Absolutely brutal. Anyway, then a couple years later, so remember Stalin orchestrated the Holodomor. Well, China also had, if you're wondering what the Holodomor means, it means death by starvation. Then China had their own version of the Holodomor. Once again, I mean, honestly, I think Chairman Mao Zedong could have been one of the greatest leaders that's ever lived if he did not try to copy Joseph Stalin. I don't know what his mindset at the time. Between 1959 to 1961, Mao's first 5-year plan was a huge success. Then he thought that he would try to just take it to the next level, because that's when Khrushchev said, remember, so Sino-Soviet split in 59. Khrushchev said, in the next 15 years, the Soviet Union economy will surpass the United States. Then Mao Zedong said, okay, you know what? In the next 15 years, the industrial production of China will surpass the Soviet Union, which was essentially impossible. You have to remember, China is still recovering from a 22-year-old long civil war, right? So yeah, and the targets they were trying to hit was simply impossible. And that led to a China's version of the Holodomor, where upwards of 50 million people died. Okay? 50 million. 50 million people died. Yeah, 2 famines. Holodomor killed 10 million. Great Leap Forward killed 50 million. 60 million people died. Yeah, during those 2 famines. Yeah, absolute insanity. Then it was another man, Comrade Liu Shaoqi. So China has a system, in the United States, you have like the top 3, you have Trump, then J.D. Vance, then the next biggest guy is the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. So China had the same system. So there was Chairman Mao, there was Comrade Liu Shaoqi, and there was a Premier Zhou Enlai. Because of the famine, a lot of people don't know this. Chairman Mao Zedong, he was temporarily sacked from his position, and it was Comrade Liu Shaoqi who took place as chairman. But Mao was still kind of in control, but at this time, Liu Shaoqi, he got too ambitious. He thought that, you know what, I'm actually the top G now. I'm going to take over. I'm going to be the next supreme leader. And there was a conference at the end of the famine where all the local super powerful Chinese elites, they were called the cadres, they all met at the capital, and Chairman Liu Shaoqi gave this speech at the conference of the 7,000 cadres. And he said, oh, Chairman Mao's the tyrant. He did all these terrible things. Millions of people died. Now I'm in charge now. And he also told Chairman Mao personally, by the way, so all of these comrades, right, including Chairman Mao Zedong, he was also a great swimmer. So yeah, at the end of the Great Leap Forward, so when Comrade Liu Shaoqi, he was going for a swim with Chairman Mao Zedong, he told him that, we're going to go down in history for all the wrong reasons. We're going to be like Adolf Hitler or Hirohito or Mussolini or Stalin. See, that's the key word. He didn't say I, Comrade Liu Shaoqi, myself. He said us, right? And because of that conversation, also because he just publicly condemned Chairman Mao Zedong at the conference of the 7,000 cadres, that eventually led to another revolt by Chairman Mao Zedong that was called the anti-rightist movement, and millions of people were arrested. So, by the way, communism, right, is considered to be a left-wing ideology. So yeah, Chairman Mao was a hardcore leftist. Very interesting. So the anti-rightist movement, that is the precursor to the Cultural Revolution. And it was during the Cultural Revolution that Comrade Liu Shaoqi, he was arrested. He was thrown to prison. He was starved for 7 months, and he eventually died from malnutrition. 10 years of Cultural Revolution. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of it. Gang of Four. But I think this is the most terrifying part for me personally, because it does not have the highest death toll. It's estimated that roughly 1 million people died, okay? So it's not really 10 years. Basically, it was, I would say, late 1966 to end of 1970, 4.5 years. So they had something called a struggle session. Over 100 million Chinese civilians, they were put on trial. They had dunce caps put on them. They were publicly tortured, humiliated. So the 1 million death toll does not include the people who have been beaten into permanent disability. As a matter of fact, so the next leader of China after Mao, which is Comrade Deng Xiaoping, very, very important figure in China, okay? He was, sent into exile to work at a tractor factory. His son was severely beaten. The Red Guards actually threw him out from the 3rd floor window, and he survived, but he had to live the rest of his life just sitting on a wheelchair. And it's like, Vladimir Lenin. So yeah, over 100 million Chinese people, they were put on these struggle sessions. They were publicly humiliated. All right, roughly 1 million people died. 5 million people beaten into permanent disability. Yeah, that was the extent they were going into. And what's really, really scary is that, so there's a concept. The people who were put on the struggle sessions, do you know what they were called? They were called bourgeois, okay? Bourgeois were the blacks, not like black people. So communism, red, right? Lenin, Red Army, Mao Zedong, red, okay? Red means we're the good people, okay? We are, if you want to consider these people humans. Anybody who is bourgeois, it's black, okay? Means you're subhuman, means you're a cockroach. Remember, 4 pillars of civilization. First, you abandon your God, okay? Secularism. Communism is a secular doctrine. The only reason why, China has the world's highest, PPP, right? Purchasing power parity, is because China is a capitalist country, okay? China is not communist, certainly not anymore. It's 100% capitalist. First, you abandon your God, okay? Then you abandon your family, okay? You stop getting married, you stop having children. Then you abandon the traditional gender roles, right? Man can become woman, woman can become man. The final pillar, you abandon your humanity, post-humanism. Because if you're identified as a bourgeois, it's just like Joseph Stalin's anti-human experiments. Because, he also identified, Comrade Stalin identified these people who did not agree with him as bourgeois. And if you're identified as a bourgeois, it means you're subhuman. They could do anything they want to you, okay? One of the torture methods you guys can probably never have heard of. It was not confirmed that this was done in China, but they certainly did this under Stalin. The bourgeois gloves. What are the bourgeois gloves? Your hands are taken by the Soviet guards, okay? They're dipped in boiling hot oil very, very quickly. They put in the oil, then they pull it out. So at this point, right, your skin's already peeling off. Then the Soviet prison guards, they will come in and they will, what do you call this, pliers? They would stick it onto your skin and they will peel off your skin bit by bit, one at a time, until both of your arms will completely rot away, until you're completely permanently disabled for the rest of your. That's the extent that they went to, okay? That's just a slight bit of preview. I can't go into too much details. It's just way too disturbing. That's why they're called the anti-human experiments. But a lot of that torture happened during the Cultural Revolution as well. And once again, right, this is what happens. And nowadays, there's a new term for this. What do they call this? Woke. Yeah. By the way, woke has totally different meaning. The Black Americans, they used this term, right? It says it was during the Jim Crow era to stand up to white supremacy. So, okay, woke now means something totally different. Woke, it's communism combined with fascism, combined with socialism, has mutated. Okay, it's all these ideologies combined on steroids. You have no idea what you're dealing with. These Red Guards, they put 100 million people on struggle sessions. They brutally tortured them, humiliated them. 5 million people tortured into being permanently disabled. 1 million people tortured to death. It's very important, right? The 1 million death toll. They weren't executed by firing squad. They were tortured to death, okay? But what is really scary is that, if there's going to be one key takeaway from this video, is that I want you guys to remember this. Okay, the Red Guards who carried out all of this during the Cultural Revolution for 4.5 years, where do you think these Red Guards came from? They weren't members of the People's Liberation Army. The Red Guards, okay, they weren't these radicals who just got released from jail. They weren't pimps. They weren't gangsters. They weren't career criminals. The original Red Guards, okay, came from two schools, Peking University and Tsinghua University in the capital, Beijing. So what is Peking University and the Tsinghua University? If you live in the UK, that's the equivalent of Oxford and Cambridge. If you live in America, you're talking about Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, Brown, Cornell, Pennsylvania. Yeah, two of the best universities in China. They were all undergraduate students at these universities. And within weeks of the Cultural Revolution, the movement swept across every single university campus, okay? Millions of people turned up holding, Chairman Mao's little red book with over 400 phrases from Mao's message towards the proletarian revolution. All of the Red Guards came from some of the best universities in China. They were all brilliant young men between 18 to 22 years old, okay? They were future doctors, future lawyers, future engineers, future scientists. These were some of the most brilliant people that's ever set foot in the history of China, okay? I want you guys to remember, right? Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Oxford, Cambridge. That's what Peking University was. That's what Tsinghua University was. That's where the Red Guards came from. These were the Red Guards who put over 100 million Chinese people on struggle sessions. That's where they tortured 5 million people into permanent disability. That's where they tortured an additional 1 million people into death. Okay, The Red Guards were the brightest university students in the country. They had all been brainwashed. They had been radicalized. They had been indoctrinated by radical left-wing political ideology. And it turned them into these insane killing machines. Okay? Remember that. The Red Guards, they were the smartest university students. They had been brainwashed by radical leftist political ideology. That's why they all became the Red Guards. Does that sound familiar in 2025? Do you not see this happening on college and university campuses? So moving past the Cultural Revolution, Chairman Mao, he died in September of 1976. His life can be controversial. Once again, I believe Chairman did a lot of great things, especially in his younger days. I still believe that he was the correct leader for China, and he was the rightful winner for the Chinese Civil War. If his arch enemy, Generalissimo Chiang Kai-shek, had won the war, China would be, I would say, 10 times worse. There was a great saying in China, right? Had Chairman Mao passed away in 1956, his achievements would be considered immortal. Nobody could match his status, right? And had Chairman Mao passed away in 1966, he would be a flawed man, but he would still be one of the greatest leaders in Chinese history. But he passed away in 1976. Well, what can we say? And there's so much more I can expand on China's economic miracle. But wow, I've been talking for well over 2 hours now. Remember my point about the Red Guards, right? Talk about, right, secularism, okay? Communism is a secular doctrine. The Red Guards did what they did because they were all secular. Joseph Stalin did what he did because he was secular. Adolf Hitler did what he did was because he is secular. And remember, to the people who are dinks who want to adopt cats and dogs, right? Yeah, you cannot worship an animal like it is a human, okay? A human being has more intrinsic values than an animal. Under communism, right? The Reds, they could label you as bourgeois. I mean, yeah, you're saying that, this cat is actually my baby, this dog is my baby. Well, if you think a cat and a dog can be raised as a human child, you don't think the Red Guards can label you as bourgeois, as someone who is subhuman, and they can label you as an insect or a cockroach or a snake, and find a way to get rid of you? Remember, the Red Guards were some of the most brilliant young men in the country at the time. They had all been indoctrinated in the classroom, okay, by radical left-wing political ideologies, and they turned into mass murders and mass torturers. Remember that. That's why at the start of this video, I mentioned ChatGPT. The fact that 99% of students on campuses are using this now. Okay, you talk about Zionism, well, you're worshiping a Jewish man, Sam Altman. Remember, this is very important, even though I started the video in a different classroom. Okay, I never used my phone once. I don't even have my laptop with me. I walked to the school. Do you guys see any notes? Do you see a teleprompter? I've been talking for over 2 hours straight. Took 2 bathroom breaks, okay? Absolutely nothing, no notes. I did not prepare for this special, full-length monologue, okay? Just sitting in an empty classroom. I just turned on my GoPro, I started to talk. This is so important. So many young people now, like the colleges and universities, are pumping out retards now. Retards with a hard R, okay? And I've been through that system. I was at Georgian College for 2 years. I was at Carleton University for 4 years. So many young people, they cannot, even a 5-minute presentation, let's say if they want to talk about the Great Depression, right, in the 1930s, it's like, like this. They just copy and paste note from ChatGPT or from Britannica, from Wikipedia, and they think they know everything. You guys know absolutely nothing, especially to the demographic for watching this video, if you're 18 to 24, if you're currently in university or college, okay? Listen. If by the time you graduate, you're a 4th-year student, you're studying economics, and you have to go out for a solo presentation, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or even 30 minutes presentation, let's say on the Great Depression, okay? You should be able to do that as a 22-year-old who has been in school since, grade 1 through grade 6, then 2 years of middle school, 4 years of high school, 4 years of university. That's 16 years of education. You're 22 years old now. You have to be able to give that presentation without anything, okay? All these young people, I'm just completely not impressed. I've been talking about, okay, boomers have a lot of problems. I talk about black culture, white culture, brown culture, Asian culture. But this is the same for everybody. And I see Chinese people do this all the time now. It's just even for just they have absolutely nothing, zero up here. Okay, absolutely nothing up here. Knowledge, it's power. Remember that, okay? You might not like Ben Shapiro, you might not like Nick Fuentes. Do you see Ben Shapiro or Nick Fuentes sitting in front of a teleprompter? Or do you see them pulling out the notes from their phone and just read everything from their phone? No, they just turn on the camera and they talk just like this. You have to be able to articulate. You might think Chairman Mao is controversial. I will tell you this, you might think Lenin's controversial. The reason why they were so popular, Vladimir Lenin and Chairman Mao Zedong, they are two of the most articulate person, not just during their era. They're the two most articulate people that has probably ever existed in the history of humanity. That's why people were willing to get behind them, because they were so articulate. They can just give a 2-minute speech and everybody would just be going crazy. They're like, yeah, glory to the proletarian revolution, glory to communism, okay? Yeah, and if you're someone who's your 3rd year or 4th year in the States, they call this junior or senior, yeah. And if you still cannot get in front of a classroom to deliver a 10, 15, or 20-minute presentation on any subject without, using your notes that you have written down previously on your phone or your iPad or MacBook, and you have to read verbatim from the screen like this, or your PowerPoint presentation, you have all these insane paragraphs, right? Every single PowerPoint slide has like 300 words on there, and you're reading the words verbatim, then I'm sorry to say that you're too dumb to be in university. You should not be enrolled in university if you cannot articulate, okay? I've been talking for over 2 hours. Nothing. I talk about World War II, about Hitler, about Babin Ya, about the Holodomor, about the Great Leap Forward. All of this, I have 0 notes, 0 preparation. I walked into the classroom, I turned on my GoPro, I started talking. That's it. Yeah, if you guys want to, surpass the previous generation, you think the boomers, they screwed you into a coma. Everything has been destroyed. I've always said this. The next generation must surpass the previous, okay? This is very, very important. I'm just looking at all of these young people on university campuses, on colleges. I'm 100% not impressed. The only person that really, really impressed me, I must say, there was one white guy, Max Peacock. I can guarantee you guys, this guy, Max Peacock, is going to be extremely successful. You'll hear about this guy a few years down the road. At the very least, he will be a top 5% income earner because his ability to articulate was absolutely incredible. He was one of the very, very few people in universities that never had to use notes. He could just, stand in front of the class and just start talking to people. That is essential if you want to succeed in this world. Remember that, and stay away from OpenAI, stay away from ChatGPT, okay? Just human-to-human interaction, the ability to articulate. Once again, no phone, no laptop, no ChatGPT, nothing. This is going to be your most important skill. You need to be able to articulate with 0 preparation, with 0 notes. And also, right, to everybody who's been watching this video, thank you so much if you have stayed all the way until this point. Okay, it's very important. The reason why so many of these young men watching my videos are so angry, right? You see Charlie Kirk, right? He's already been taking out people like Matt Walsh, like Michael Knowles, like Benny Johnson, like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. Yeah, it's real. Even for me, I'm a very small content creator. Those people with millions of followers, yeah, they're saying that they're getting death threats every single day. I don't know what the hell is wrong with people, okay? You guys all need to look at yourselves in the mirror and tell you this, okay? Every single one of you guys, you need to look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself this. The number 1 problem in your life is you, okay? Have you thought about it like this, okay? Maybe the reason why you're still single, okay? Maybe you're 26, 28, 30, 35, 40. Maybe the reason why you're single is because, well, God is real. God is keeping you single because he realizes that he's omnipotent. He realizes that you are the problem. You are a Karen, you're a Keisha, you're a Vicious, you're a Kevin, you're a Vermin, you're a traitor, you're a scumbag. So God is keeping all the good people away from you because nobody needs that kind of drama. Nobody needs that kind of backstabbing or screaming in their life. So yeah, God is matching up all the good people with other good people. Yeah, the reason why you are alone, the reason why you're struggling is because you are the problem. Yes, myself included. Yes, I do say that to myself. Not every single day, maybe 3 days a week. I look in the mirror. Sometimes when I'm brushing my teeth, right, I tell myself, the number 1 problem in my life is me. Don't blame anybody else. So crucial. Never, ever forget that. And yeah, if you guys still have questions like, well, you talk about the fall of nuclear family, how we can move forward. What Charlie Kirk said, young man needs to find a wife, get married, continue the legacy. Well, I will have to say this. So if you come from a background like my family, where over 90% of my family has been divorced, where, there's career criminals, registered sex offenders, prostitutes, intravenous drug users. Honestly, I do believe genetics are real. I mean, if you marry someone, that is going to carry on to your offspring, because what I see in my grandmother, I see the exact same thing in my mother, I see the exact same thing in my sister, I see the exact same thing in my 13-year-old niece. Probably not a good idea for you to get married. But once again, right? Even right now, if you look at Canada, right, the number of children that's currently being raised in single mother homes is about 22%. So roughly 80% of the population, you're still growing up in a normal nuclear household, okay? If you're part of the 80%, I think you guys absolutely must follow through with filial piety. It is absolutely essential. Find a woman, believe in God, go to church, get baptized, have children, build a legacy. It is absolutely essential. And once again, it is different for everybody. But yeah, if you come from a family like mine, probably not the best option. It's okay. You can still find a girl to stay in a long-term relationship. But I would say marriage and children, not the best idea, because genetics is real, and your genetics is going to curse the next generation as well. I'm sorry to say, but God is not fair. The world is not fair. Not everything in this world is sunshines and rainbows. And thank you so much to everybody that has clicked on this video and that has watched it all the way until the end. It's been over 2 hours now. Wow, I can really talk. So I'm about to reach my limit as well. So yeah, please remember to like the video, and if you guys have enjoyed this full-length monologue, remember to share the video. This channel will return next Wednesday. So thank you guys so much. If you guys have enjoyed the contents of this video, please like the video and hit the subscribe button, and make sure to turn on the notification button. And if you guys really want to support me, and so I have a Patreon page as well. You can become a monthly donor, where you can become a channel member. Personally, yeah, I would prefer it if you join my channel as a channel member, and I am currently doing everything I can. I'm severely restricted time-wise because I do have a full-time job, but right now my lease is probably going to be up in April 2026, and yeah, that's why I'm planning on just focusing on this channel full-time, because just the cost of living in all Western countries has gotten so expensive. Producing contents online gives me the flexibility to move to any part of the world I want to. And for the short term, because I still have student loans and line of credit to pay back, I'll probably stay in China just for short term. But after that, I hope to be traveling around the world. I probably want to spend a year in Mexico, maybe go to Philippines, Vietnam. The world is such a massive place, right? And I want to meet as many people as possible. And yeah, I've been working extremely hard towards that goal. And honestly, even this video has already been well over 2 hours. I still have so much more to say, but I will keep you guys updated throughout my journey. But probably, most likely, I would say next summer, June, by July at the latest, I will relaunch this channel. I will aim to take my contents to the next level. And remember, it is so important, even though my plan is to leave Western countries, but if you're someone who is either that wants to immigrate here, I cannot stop you, or if you're just stuck here because this is your home, you have no other option. You have family, relatives here, and you have to stay in Canada or America or Australia or UK or France. And then you must remember this: God is real and Christ is King.